What would you do if someone humiliated you, completely unaware that you had the power to change their lives forever? This is the incredible story of James Parker, a retired school teacher who transformed a moment of humiliation into a life-changing victory. One ordinary day, James walked into a luxury car dealership with dreams of purchasing his first high-end vehicle, a reward for decades of hard work and saving. But instead of being welcomed, he was mocked and dismissed because of his modest appearance. Little did they know, James would return not as a customer, but as the new owner of the dealership, determined to reshape it into a place of respect and integrity. At its heart, this story is about the timeless values of dignity, respect, and the power of character. It's a reminder that how we treat others, especially those we underestimate, reveals our true selves. Let's dive into the remarkable journey of James Parker and discover how one man turned adversity into an opportunity to make the world a better place. James Parker stepped into the gleaming showroom of Grand Motors, clutching an old leather wallet that had seen better days. At 68, he carried himself with quiet dignity, dressed in a faded pair of khakis and a well-worn navy sweater, a cherished gift from his late wife Emily. For years, James had dreamed of this moment, buying his first luxury car, a symbol of decades of hard work and sacrifice. After driving the same reliable sedan for over 25 years, he had saved enough to purchase his dream vehicle, a brand new Mercedes-Benz S-Class. The dealership was nothing short of dazzling. Shiny, polished floors reflected rows of high-end cars, each gleaming under the showroom lights. James scanned the room, his eyes landing on a sleek silver sedan. It was everything he had imagined. But as he approached the vehicle, he was intercepted by a young salesman named Ryan, his tailored suit and flashy demeanor an intentional display of confidence. Ryan's professional smile faltered when he gave James a once-over. "Can I help you?" Ryan asked, his tone laced with doubt. "Yes," James replied with a polite nod, pointing to the silver S-Class. "I'd like to learn more about this model." Ryan exchanged a glance with a nearby colleague and let out a quiet snicker. "Sir," the squad started $120,000. "Maybe I can show you something more practical? We have some excellent used options." James felt a pang of embarrassment but maintained his composure. "I know the price," he said calmly. "I'd like to test drive it." Ryan's smile turned condescending. "We require proof of funds before test drives to avoid wasting time, you understand." As their exchange drew attention, several employees gathered nearby, poorly hiding their amusement. Moments later, the manager, Derek Thompson, approached, his expression smug. "Is there a problem here?" he asked, though his tone made it clear he assumed James was the issue. Instead, "I have the money," James said, pulling out his bank statements with trembling hands, not from age, but from the sting of humiliation. Derek glanced at the papers, then raised his voice for the gathered staff to hear. "This is a luxury dealership, sir. We cater to a certain clientele. I'm going to have to ask you to leave before you disrupt our actual customers." The room echoed with muted laughter as James stood frozen, holding his crumpled bank statements. Taking a deep breath, he straightened his back and turned to leave. At the door, he paused and looked back. "My late wife believed that character is revealed in how you treat others," he said softly. "Perhaps you should think about that." With those words, James walked out, leaving behind a room full of smirking faces and the first step toward his extraordinary comeback. That evening, James Parker sat in his modest study, surrounded by framed photos and mementos of a life well lived. Among them was a favorite picture of his late wife, Emily, smiling warmly during one of their many family trips. Her voice seemed to echo in his mind, reminding him of her unwavering belief in his strength and worth. "You're capable of more than you realize, James," she used to say. Instead of his usual evening tea, James picked up the phone and dialed his son Andrew, a successful investment banker in New York. When Andrew answered, his voice was filled with concern. "Dad, you never called this late. Is everything okay?" James hesitated before recounting the humiliating events of the day. Andrew listened intently, his tone turning from concern to anger. "They treated you like that?" Andrew said, his voice crackling with frustration. "It's not fine, Dad," You deserve better. James sighed. I'll just find another dealership. It's not worth dwelling on, he said. But Andrew wasn't ready to let it go. Wait a second, he said, the sound of furious typing coming through the line. Did you know Grand Motors is struggling? Their parent company is looking to sell it at a loss because of poor sales and bad management. James was stunned. Why would that matter to us? Andrew paused, then asked, Remember that tech investment you and Mom made 15 years ago? The one she believed in so much? James nodded, his heart racing. Well, it's worth over $7 million now, if you're thinking what I'm thinking. James straightened in his chair. We buy it, he said firmly. Andrew chuckled. Exactly. Let me make some calls. We'll finalize the paperwork tomorrow. For the first time that day, James felt a flicker of excitement. This wasn't just about buying a car anymore. It was about reclaiming his dignity. The next morning, James Parker stood in front of his mirror, adjusting the lapels of his best suit, the same one he had worn to Emily's funeral. His silver hair was neatly combed, and he carried an old leather briefcase, its edges worn but sturdy, much like the man himself. Taking a deep breath, he stepped out the door, ready for what lay ahead. When James walked back into the Grand Motors showroom, his confident stride turned heads. The same employees who had mocked him the day before exchanged confused glances. Ryan, the young salesman, was the first to approach, his smirk returning as he spoke. Sir, I thought we made it clear. Good morning, James interrupted firmly. I'm here to see Derek Thompson. Mr. Thompson doesn't have time for it. I think he'll make time, James said, his voice unwavering. Tell him James Parker is here. Ryan hesitated, the confidence draining from his face. Moments later, Derek emerged from his office, his expression a mix of irritation and confusion. What's going on here? He barked. James reached into his briefcase and calmly handed over a stack of documents. These are the ownership transfer papers. As of this morning, I am the new owner of Grand Motors. The room fell silent, disbelief washing over the staff. Derek flipped through the paperwork, his face turning pale. This must be some kind of mistake, he stammered. It's only been a few hours. No mistake, James replied evenly. Turning to face the gathered employees, his voice carried authority. As my first act as owner, I'll be making some changes. Mr. Thompson, Mr. Ryan, and anyone else who participated in yesterday's unprofessional behavior, you have until the end of the day to clear out your desks. Ryan's bravado crumbled. Please, sir, he pleaded, I have a family. Stop. James looked him squarely in the eye. So do many of the people you've likely humiliated over the years. I suggest you reflect on that in your next job. Remember, the person you look down on today might sign your paycheck tomorrow. As the dismissed employees gathered their belongings, James turned back to the remaining staff. For those staying, things will be different. From now on, every customer will be treated with respect, regardless of their appearance or perceived wealth. We will implement new training programs and a mystery shopper system to ensure these standards are met. The staff nodded, a mix of nervousness and hope in their faces. James had set the tone for a new era at Grand Motors, one built on dignity and fairness. With his declaration, he wasn't just reclaiming his pride, he was creating a business rooted in the values that Emily had always believed in. Under James Parker's leadership, Grand Motors underwent a complete transformation, becoming a beacon of respect, kindness, and fairness in the automotive industry. From the very first day, James made it clear, every customer, regardless of their appearance or background, would be treated with the dignity they deserved. One of his first initiatives was implementing mandatory staff training programs, focusing on empathy and respectful customer interactions. James brought in experts to teach the importance of first impressions and how to provide exceptional service to every individual. You don't judge a book by its cover, James reminded his team. You welcome every customer as if they were family. To ensure these standards were upheld, James introduced a mystery shopper program. Anonymous evaluators visited the dealership, posing as customers, to observe and report on how they were treated. This not only motivated staff to maintain high standards, but also identified areas for improvement. Recognizing the challenges faced by seniors in navigating car purchases, James launched senior-friendly initiatives. These included dedicated staff to assist elderly customers, clearer pricing information, and even a transportation service to help them visit the dealership. But James didn't stop there. With Emily's values of giving back guiding him, he established a scholarship fund for underprivileged youth passionate about the automotive industry. A car dealership isn't just about sales, he explained. It's about creating opportunities and building a community. The impact of these changes was immediate and profound. Word spread quickly about the dealership's exceptional customer service, attracting customers who had previously avoided such places. Sales skyrocketed, and Grand Motors earned glowing reviews online and in local media. One day, an elderly woman in modest clothing entered the showroom. The staff welcomed her warmly, patiently answering her questions and showing her every car she was interested in. To everyone's surprise, she revealed that she was a wealthy widow looking to purchase 3 cars, one for each of her grandchildren graduating from college. The staff's kindness and professionalism made the experience memorable for her, and she left with not just cars, but a glowing admiration for the dealership. Watching the interaction unfold from his office, James smiled. This moment, like so many others, was a testament to how far the dealership had come. Under James's leadership, Grand Motors wasn't just a thriving business, it was a place where people were respected and valued. It stood as a legacy of kindness and second chances, proving that treating people with dignity could transform not just a business, but lives. As James Parker sat in his office, overlooking the bustling showroom of Grand Motors, he couldn't help but reflect on the journey that had brought him here. What had started as a painful moment of humiliation had become a catalyst for change, not just for himself, but for the entire community. In the face of adversity, James had chosen not to retaliate with anger, but to lead with dignity, transforming a toxic culture into one rooted in respect and kindness. Prominently displayed near the entrance was a framed quote, one that James held close to his heart. Character reveals itself in how you treat those who can do nothing for you. It was Emily's belief in this principle that had guided him every step of the way. Every morning, as he passed that quote, he was reminded of her faith in him and the values they had shared. Welcome, Jane. The dealership, once known for its dismissive attitudes, was now a place where every customer was treated with genuine care and respect. Whether someone was buying a luxury car or simply inquiring about prices, they were welcomed warmly. James took pride in knowing that his leadership had not only turned Grand Motors into a thriving business, but also into a model for how people should be treated. James hoped that his story would inspire others to reflect on their own actions. Respect costs nothing, he often said, but its value is immeasurable. As he straightened a few brochures before closing for the evening, he thought about the moral of his journey. The best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about making the world a better place. If this story moved you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more inspiring tales of transformation and powerful life lessons. Let's spread positivity and create a world where dignity and kindness always prevail.